In today's video, we're going to go over an Unturned raiding guide. In this video, we're going to go over all of the vanilla maps, raiding methods, but we're going to talk about the primary three methods, which are the Dragonfang, the C4, and the rocket launcher. So let's get started. So the Dragonfang. The Dragonfang is an epic weapon which uses Dragonfang boxes and reloads with high caliber ammunition. From all of the maps, you can find this at military locations when there's a mega zombie. So for example, if we're currently on Washington, you can get yourself a mega zombie spawn over at Olympia, Seattle, or the helicopter crash. On PI, you can get it from Confederation Bridge and from Summerside, and from Russia you can get it either from Silo 22 Dead Zone or from Volk military base. But you can also get this as a high tier military spawn. So there's a bunch of locations around each map where there's high tier location nodes. And Dragonfangs do spawn there, and so does Dragonfang boxes. Dragonfang also spawns as a horde beacon drop, and sometimes, very rarely, they can even be found in airdrops. Now this has take military attachments, so you can customize it to how you like, so you can put military barrel, military muzzle, or suppressor. And for PvP it's actually pretty strong, but obviously I recommend using this for raiding. Now this does give sturdy structure damage, so if you're raiding a metal wall, one bullet gives around 1% of damage. Now in order to raid, it does take around 75 bullets, so one Dragonfang box should give you enough to raid 2 metal walls. And as for a wooden wall, it only takes around 15 shots, which is actually very strong. A recent update made it so that Dragonfangs, for some reason, they give out so much more damage. As you may see, it's shooting 3 shots per bullet, which is absolutely insane in my opinion. Very recent update, which I'm not really a fan of. It's like so strong. I don't know if it is intentional, but it wasn't changed after a while, so I guess this is how Dragonfang works nowadays. So for PvP, these are probably extremely strong nowadays. Next, we're going to go over the Demolition and the Precision charges. Obviously, the Precision charges are just a normal Demolition charge. So as you may see, if you get yourself a Demolition charge, you can turn it into a Precision charge if you get yourself Crafting 3. And if you, for example, want to make it back into a raw explosive, which obviously I don't recommend, you can just make it back into one raw explosive. But basically, Demolition charges are where it's at. Now, the Demolition charges can be crafted with wire, raw explosive, and a sticky grenade with Crafting 2. And the sticky grenade can either be found as a high tier military spawn or a mega zombie drop, or you can craft it yourself with glue, wire, raw explosive, and the fragmentation grenade, and you require Crafting 2. Now, one charge does give 1000 structure damage, which for a metal wall you would require 3, and for a wooden wall you would require only 1. So basically with 3 charges, it should be enough to break it. It almost broke all of the pillars as well. Now for precision charges, I do recommend them getting used when you don't want to break, for example, your surroundings except for the lockers. So for example, if you're about to raid a few lockers that are next to each other, but you don't want to break the floor or the pillars, let's say you're in a sky base and the floor under you is already pretty much damaged, you can just use a precision charge and they will get broken. Another cool thing to know is that if you have a wall of lockers all next to each other and you place a precision charge, this is enough to actually break all of them. Next, let's go over to the rocket launcher. Now, the rocket launcher, this can be found in ranger locations on all maps, such as on PI, you can find this on Holman Island, and on Washington, you can find this at Heritage Valley or the Sunken Submarine. And in Russia, this can be also found at the unmarked dead zone next to Silo 22. Now, in order to craft a rocket, you would just need to have yourself a demolition charge and a raw explosive, and you require Crafting 2 for this. As we mentioned earlier, the demolition charge can be crafted with a sticky grenade, raw, and wire. But the good thing about a rocket launcher is that you obviously do not require a detonator, unlike the charge. So a rocket launcher, in my opinion, is slightly better than a rocket, but obviously it depends on the scenario that you're going to raid. They do give the exact same damage as a charge, except that you're able to just shoot it a bit further away. So for a live base, I recommend obviously using rockets, because with this you can also just damage the players. Even though with a charge you can also damage the players, but with a rocket you are much safer because you're shooting from a bit further away. Next, I'm going to give out some tips that I have for you guys for different scenarios. So the first tip I have is, for example, if you're raiding an underwater base, the best way to go for this is using demolition charges. This way you can use a detonator underwater, and if you're gonna use a rocket launcher or a Dragonfang, you would need to either build up or shoot from a vehicle, which can be quite annoying. As for raiding a sky base, the best way to go for this is using a Dragonfang and the rocket launcher, since most of the time sky bases do have claim flags, and this makes it much harder for you to get close and raid with demolition charges. As for lockers, as we mentioned earlier, I recommend using demolition or rockets. As for raiding sentries, I recommend using Dragonfang, since if you shoot a rocket, you'd just be wasting a lot of the damage, unless there's a bunch of sentries that are like right next to each other, and you can hit them all with one rocket. As for structure damage, a metal door is weaker than a metal doorway, so you have an option between a metal door and the metal doorway. Always go for the metal door. But if it is a vault door, then obviously go for the metal doorway, because a vault door is the strongest. As for a wooden doorway, it is weaker than a metal door, obviously. So always prioritize raiding wooden structures rather than metal structures. So in my personal opinion, I do think that the best way to raid is with the rocket launcher. And then second, it is with the charge. And third, it is with the Dragonfang. Rocket launchers are always good to have, and you can just quickly reload, but it does take a little bit more to actually craft it, but you do not require a detonator, and they are easier to spawn since our regular ranger zombie can actually drop it. And that is it for this video. I really hope that you guys did learn something new. Let me know what you guys think and which is your favorite raiding method from these three, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!